From your earliest memories, something about you has been different from everyone around you in ways that you could never fully explain, but always deeply felt within yourself. You saw things others did not see. You sensed things others did not sense. You carried weights that seemed inappropriate for your age. You questioned what everyone else accepted. This difference has followed you throughout your life. It has marked your relationships, your experiences, and your perception of the world in ways that set you apart consistently. You have wondered if something was wrong with you. You have questioned whether you were broken, defective, or fundamentally flawed in ways that could not be fixed or changed. But what if nothing was wrong? What if everything was right? What if the difference you have always felt was evidence of a calling that was placed on you before birth? Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5 contains words that may describe your own story. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you. God continued speaking to Jeremiah with these words. I ordained you a prophet to the nations. The calling was established before formation. The destiny preceded the existence itself. You may have been born a prophet. The experiences that confused you may be evidence of prophetic wiring that has been operating since your earliest consciousness began functioning. Today, I will reveal 9 signs that indicate you were born a prophet. As you hear each sign, reflect honestly on whether this describes your experience from childhood. The first sign you were born a prophet is that you had unusual spiritual sensitivity as a child that went far beyond normal childhood imagination or creative play. You sensed presences that others did not sense. You felt atmospheres in rooms. You may have seen things in the spiritual realm that frightened you because no one else perceived them. Perhaps you had dreams that came true. Perhaps you knew things about people or situations before you could have known them naturally. Perhaps you perceived what adults were hiding. This sensitivity was not imagination. It was not childish fantasy. It was the beginning manifestation of prophetic gifting that would develop and strengthen throughout your life journey. Samuel heard the voice of God as a young boy. 1 Samuel chapter 3 records that he heard God calling his name and at first thought it was Eli the priest. Samuel did not yet know the Lord. Verse 7 says, the word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to him, but his prophetic ears were already functioning before he understood. Your childhood sensitivity was prophetic ears developing. Your unusual perceptions were prophetic eyes opening. What felt abnormal was actually the normal experience of someone born for prophetic calling. The second sign you were born a prophet is that you have always felt like an outsider, like you never quite fit in anywhere, even in your own family. Prophets are set apart by nature of their calling. The word sanctified in Jeremiah 1 verse 5 means to be set apart. Separation is built into the prophetic assignment. You may have felt like you were adopted even in your biological family. You may have struggled to find a peer group where you truly belonged. You may have felt invisible. This isolation was not rejection by God. It was preparation by God. He was keeping you separate from influences that would have corrupted the pure stream he was developing in you. Elijah experienced profound isolation. He believed he was the only faithful one left in Israel. 1 Kings chapter 19 records his complaint that he alone remained faithful. John the Baptist lived in the wilderness until his manifestation to Israel. Luke chapter 1 verse 80 says he was in the deserts until his public appearing. Isolation preceded ministry. Your sense of not belonging was prophetic preparation. The outsider experience was developing a perspective that insiders cannot have. God was giving you prophet eyes through isolation. The third sign you were born a prophet is that you have always been deeply affected by injustice in ways that go beyond normal compassion or ethical concern. When you witnessed unfairness as a child, it burned in you. When you saw the weak mistreated, something rose up inside you. When you encountered lies, righteous anger ignited. This response was not just empathy. It was the prophetic spirit responding to what grieves the heart of God. Prophets are wired to feel what God feels about injustice. Amos was a shepherd when God called him, but he could not remain silent about the injustice in Israel. Amos chapters 1 and 2 pronounce judgment on nation after nation. The prophetic spirit cannot peacefully coexist with injustice. It must speak. It must confront. It must call for righteousness. This burden was placed in you from the beginning. Isaiah could not look away from the oppression of the poor. Jeremiah could not ignore the idolatry of Israel. Ezekiel could not accept the abominations in the temple. Neither can you. The fourth sign you were born a prophet is that you have experienced unusual and often vivid dreams throughout your life that have seemed to carry spiritual significance. Your dream life is not normal. Your dreams are not random. They often seem to be communicating something beyond ordinary subconscious processing. They feel like messages. Some dreams have come true. Some dreams have warned you. Some dreams have revealed things about people or situations that you could not have known through natural means. Joel chapter 2 verse 28 prophesied that in the last days, God would pour out his Spirit and people would dream dreams. The prophetic often manifests through dreams. Joseph was a dreamer from his youth. Genesis chapter 37 records his dreams about his family bowing before him. The dreams were prophetic revelation about his destiny. Daniel received visions and dreams that revealed the future of nations and kingdoms. His prophetic gifting operated heavily through the dream realm. The same may be true of you. Your unusual dream life is evidence of prophetic wiring. God has been speaking to you through dreams, perhaps for longer than you realized. Your night visions carry purpose. The fifth sign you were born a prophet is that you have an unusual relationship with truth that makes it almost impossible for you to tolerate deception or pretense. You can see through masks. You detect when people are lying. You sense when situations are not what they appear to be. Deception is almost physically uncomfortable for you. This discernment has gotten you in trouble. You have pointed out what others preferred to ignore. You have spoken truth that others wanted to remain hidden. You have exposed pretense. Prophets are truth tellers. They cannot be otherwise. The prophetic spirit is fundamentally aligned with truth because God is truth and prophets carry his perspective and nature. Jesus said in John chapter 14 verse 6 that he is the way, the truth, and the life. The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus. Truth and prophecy are inseparable. Nathan the prophet could not pretend David had not sinned with Bathsheba. He had to speak truth to the king. 2 Samuel chapter 12 records his confrontation despite the danger. Your inability to tolerate deception is not a personality flaw. It is prophetic wiring that compels you toward truth, regardless of the personal cost of speaking it. The sixth sign you were born a prophet is that you have often known things about people upon meeting them that you had no natural way of knowing. You meet someone and immediately know something about their character, their situation, or their heart that they have not revealed. Information downloads without natural explanation. This knowing is not judgment. It is not assumption. It is not reading body language. It is supernatural perception that operates through you without your conscious effort. Jesus operated in this knowing constantly. John chapter 1 verse 47 records that he saw Nathanael coming and said, "Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom is no deceit." Nathanael asked how Jesus knew him. Jesus responded that he saw him under the fig tree before Philip called him. Supernatural knowledge revealed a man's character and history. The woman at the well in John chapter 4 experienced this prophetic knowing from Jesus. He told her about her 5 husbands and current relationship. She recognized him as prophet. Your unusual knowing about people is the word of knowledge or discernment of spirits operating through you. These are prophetic gifts that have been functioning since before you understood. The seventh sign you were born a prophet is that you have experienced seasons of intense wilderness, isolation, or preparation that seemed disproportionate to others' experiences. Your journey has included unusually difficult seasons, times of extreme loneliness, periods of intense testing, Wilderness experiences that stretched far beyond what seemed reasonable or fair. These seasons were not punishment. They were preparation. Prophets are forged in difficult places. The wilderness develops something that comfort and ease can never produce. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before his prophetic assignment began. He went from Egyptian prince to Midianite shepherd before becoming Israel's deliverer and prophet. Elijah was sent to the brook Cherith and then to a widow's house before his public ministry. He experienced isolation, lack, and hiddenness before Mount Carmel's demonstration. Paul spent years in Arabia and obscurity between his conversion and his apostolic ministry. Galatians chapter 1 verse 17 reveals this hidden season of prophetic preparation. Your difficult seasons have been your training ground. The wilderness was your classroom. The isolation was your formation. What felt like abandonment was actually intensive preparation. The 8th sign you were born a prophet is that you have always felt a heavy burden for the spiritual condition of people, the church, or the nation. You carry weight that others do not carry. You grieve over sin that others excuse. You mourn over the condition of the church when others seem comfortable with the status quo. This burden is not depression. It is not negativity. It is the prophetic mantle that weighs upon those who see with God's eyes and feel with God's heart. Jeremiah was called the weeping prophet because he could not stop mourning over Israel's condition. Lamentations records his grief over Jerusalem's destruction. The burden was unrelenting. Ezekiel ate the scroll and found it sweet in his mouth, but bitter in his stomach. The prophetic message brings sweetness of truth, but bitterness of burden. Nehemiah wept when he heard about Jerusalem's broken walls. He could not carry on with normal life while the holy city lay in ruins. Burden compelled him to action. Your burden is not a problem to be solved. It is a calling to be embraced. The weight you carry is the prophetic mantle pressing upon your shoulders for purpose. The 9th sign you were born a prophet is that you have always had an unusual hunger for God's presence that ordinary religious activity could never satisfy. Church services that satisfied others left you wanting more. Devotional routines that nourished others left you still hungry. You have always craved depths that most never pursue. This hunger is prophetic hunger. Prophets must know God intimately because they speak on His behalf. They must dwell in His presence because they carry His perspective. Moses was not satisfied with second-hand knowledge of God. Exodus chapter 33 verse 18 records his desperate cry. Please show me your glory. He demanded direct encounter. David's deepest desire was expressed in Psalm 27 verse 4. One thing I have desired, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. If these 9 signs describe your experience, you are likely born a prophet. Embrace your calling. Develop your gifting. Let God complete the work He began before your birth.